You do not have to sign in over there. That is for public comment. So if you do want to make public comment, please put your name on the piece of paper. So moving on from there. We have a motion to move the agenda to the table. By Ms. Jersey, seconded by Lone. Any discussions? All in favor? Motion carries. I did forget to mention that we are a full board tonight. Mr. Groden and Ms. Galligan are with us remotely. They're zooming in, but they are voting members of the board meeting tonight. And board meeting is in progress. So any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda at this time?
There are none at this time, Mr. President.
Thanks so much, Dr. Evans. Motion to adopt the agenda as is by Ms. Jersey, seconded by Mrs. Podolsky. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Approval draft minutes, October 21st, 2025. Mrs. Podolsky, seconded by Mrs. Stalter. Any discussion? Sweet. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to our student board member update. I'll pass this over to you.
For starters, the phone ban continues to be going well. We are addressing workarounds as they arise. We noticed and confirmed with the administration that the number of altercations in high school has increased tremendously. There has been an overall improvement throughout fall sports this year, with the girls volleyball team, boys soccer, and cross country team going into the postseason. There's also been overall improvement with communication and assistance for seniors with senior meetings, staff nights, transfer fairs, and assemblies. For upcoming events, there is a Veterans Day assembly on Friday, the end of the marking period on Friday as well. We are hosting an SAT exam this Saturday, November 8th. JV and varsity sports start November 17th. Senior Sullivan College Transfer Fair Thursday, November 6th for juniors and seniors. The school board will host ALF presentations and music performances on November 17th. Principals list, honorable and high honorable recognitions on November 14th. And area all-state music festival on November 1st. For the National Honor Society ceremony on October 30th, 10 new members were inducted. The high school is currently working on who will run National Honor Society share with Ms. Nielsen's requirement. And there has been a donation from the Sullivan County Youth Bureau of $3,000, which will be separated from the school district for care closets and backpack programs. Guidance counselors are currently working to make students more aware of offers for them. Finally, the first round of student internships has begun starting in October, and our My Brothers Keeper Fellows, Guys Brown and Steve's prepared for a presentation at the My Brothers Keeper production.
Any questions for Rita? Thank you very much for that report. We appreciate it. Moving on from there, we do have a presentation this evening, high school graduation rates and pathways data. I'll pass this over to Scarlett.
Thank you very much. So tonight we have our high school principal and our director of secondary instruction, Laura Santos-Shep. And they are going to be presenting to you on high school graduation rate this past year and comparing it to previous years, as well as our many graduation pathways that students have to pick from when they graduate.
Good evening. Thanks for having us here tonight. As Scarlett said, we're talking about high school graduation rates and pathways through the. So the first slide actually addresses the seals. So we right now currently have the seal of biodiversity and the seal of civic readiness. The number of seals of civic readiness is so high because of the work we do in our social studies classes to make sure students are meeting those requirements, and it does operate as another pathway for students should they need that for graduation. The seal by literacy, although that number looks small, it's representative of the seniors who received it last year. We actually had, I want to say, close to 30 students who were eligible for that endorsement. So when they become seniors, they all then get it. They've already done what they need to do. It's just they don't count for New York State and get endorsed until they become a senior. So that number will go up each year. We did implement a native speaker class for Spanish, and that has greatly contributed to that number of the seal by literacy going up. It also does operate as another pathway for our students towards graduation.
Next slide is our career pathways currently at the high school. We'll see the various pathways for our high school. Humanities being the biggest because many things get lumped into the humanities pathway. However, we do take pride in the opportunity that we do have for other pathways for our students, which will continue to grow now that we've received that endorsement in both accounting, finance, and hospitality and tourism. So we are excited to see that career tech number will grow up. The other areas that you see are we were a pilot program last year. So we had 2 students that were awarded that. One was for music and one was for art. And that is where they have specific set of requirements that they have to meet. They have to take some AP courses and end with a portfolio. Those are the requirements to receive that as a base, we received 2. The actual program was not supposed to take effect until 2026, but we were able to endorse those last year because we were a pilot school, so that was something, and you will see an increase in that as we go on. The art pathway, which has this was the original 4+1 pathway, but we have moved into these other areas, so if we go to that's part of the IAP. And then the humanities alternative, we see art kids that should go into the humanities section, and really that is the old way of looking at the pathways that we used to have, but now we have so many other broad spectrums of ways for students to earn designations. So these are the endorsements and credentials that the students can get based on Regents completions and different credentialing they can get. So with each comes a different set of criteria. Your local with CTE endorsement, Regents with CTE, CDOS, skills and achievement with honors, and then advanced designation. So students can qualify in more than one category, but they do have to meet the specific requirements. Usually additional Regents, and then there's certain averages that they must get on a certain set of Regents to earn that credentialing. I think the work that we're doing around honors courses and a lot of the support we're providing students, we're going to see more students entering into honors courses and hopefully see a lot more students with that honors classification. So data does apply. These are the hard facts of what our current graduation rates are. We are aware of them. We are working through them, and you will see in the next slides thing that we're doing to grades. What these test scores don't show is the work that's being done behind the scenes. It's the relationships that we are building, is the visibility within the hallways, is the communication with families, it is the development of the strong guidance team. It is the PLC and pedagogy work within the classroom, working with instructional coaches, and those things that have to start that foundation to get that number where we want. If we continue being to do just what is needed, that's going to stay the same. But I can guarantee you, the work that is being done is structured in a way to get those moving to have their students feel valued, feel important, because academics come second to them walking into a school that they feel is safe and that they know there are people that they can go to get the support they need, and that's what's happening. So I am confident it is going to take some years. You know, in research that I've done, it doesn't happen overnight. Obviously, it was my first year and for maybe later too. So we are addressing those issues as they are given to us. Being through 1 year under my belt, we are addressing issues that have shortcomings and looking at alternative ways to address student achievement, student attendance, and things of that nature that all play a crucial role in having our students perform on grades, which again, you will see in the next slide with all the work, but it's only a snapshot. Best you get answers from is speaking to students and speaking to the families to see the work that is being done, so help us succeed.
So to kind of transition maybe off of what we were just talking about with graduation rates, a big focus this year has been the multi-source systems of support or MTSS. Next to that, you'll see the graduation task force recommendations or the GTF. We put that next to the specific steps that we're taking that were aligned with the graduation task force recommendations. So we had that task force last year that had a set number of recommendations. And we really used that as a focus for this year. There were students, there were parents, there were teachers. So we've used that to kind of guide our work as well. MTSS was one of the big recommendations for that graduation task force. So what we've really been doing is making sure we're using the referral system. We did have 7 total so far, but we had 4 within the last month of students being referred. We have the meetings, we develop action plans, we have 5-week follow-up meetings. Teachers come, there's feedback. So we've seen an improvement when I have a concern about this student. It's now no longer 15 weeks in, and now we've got to figure out how we're gonna get this kiddo back. We're being much more proactive. It's not just academics, there are other pieces built in. Maybe there's social emotional stuff that the student needs every test in your class, but we can't get them in there. So we've got to figure out what's going on. So that true team support of that multi-tiered is helping us get students back into the classroom and work with grades. Our AIS program is still a work in progress. It's better than it was last year. We now have AIS for all the contents throughout the day. Scheduling at the high school can be difficult when they have to have an earth science lab, but you need to get them in an AIS. So we've been doing some different things to get kids the support they need. We have 5-week progress check-in meetings. So all the AIS providers meet with me and we talk about what are you seeing, what's going on with the kiddos, what's helping. The data board that they have access to has the regents linked to all of the students' scores. So if they have a student in AIS who received 58, all they have to do is click on that 58 and they have that student's item analysis. So now when we're having our 5-week meetings, they're specifically saying, well, I was working on constructive response because this group of students did fine on all choice. So we're getting a lot more targeted. I know Jen and I both want to prioritize next year scheduling AIS better so we can get more kids where they need to be and more appropriate class sizes for that. So we've made a step in the right direction this year, and I think with some more intentional scheduling, AIS will be even better for next year.
Just to piggyback on 2 things with that, the MTSS, one particular student came to mind. Not attending school, but he did come to school, circulating through the building, and it was like playing hide and go seek to try to find a student. We referred him to MTSS, and I saw him in the hallway today, between classes, he scored, he's what, I'm passing all my classes. If that's what it takes the village that we are creating here at the high school to make those small steps to have this success. And listen, we have setbacks, we have supports that are now in place for the students that were once struggling. And they have a place to turn to get the support they need. And then as far as the AIS program, we're looking, obviously, it wasn't what we wanted it to be in high school when we walked into that building. We continuously improve their protocol and a set plan for each teacher that they need to follow, and that really significantly helps. I've gone in to observe some of these, and the instruction is individualized to that student. Just to say, we had a science AIS and it was overly full. It was for students that were taking living environment. You know that living environment is mostly a reading test. So what we did is we provided them with reading AIS, so that AIS is significantly catered to the living environment readings. So it's again looking for those alternative opportunities to provide support for these students that was missing. As far as attendance committee, the district, obviously, attendance is a big importance to us. If students aren't here, we can't educate them. So our building is really taking an initiative this year. We have monthly attendance meetings. We review our students that are at risk and we make action plans to them. What does that mean? That may mean that we're putting an MTSS referral in. That may mean that we are doing a home visit That means we're having parent meetings, but then we have a spreadsheet that shows the steps that have been taken and the attendance committee has that is shared with them. So that they can have their tasks and we know what we've done, and then the next meeting we follow up. And we may have to pivot the way we're moving to address that student and support them to getting them in school. Regular family outreach, so we had actually a significant number of students who had 100% attendance for the month of October. They all received, or they will receive by tomorrow, the parents were a message congratulating them. They will receive certificates, and we have a food bulletin board that will be up on Friday that lists their names, it lists our targeted goal of attendance for the year. And it's a visual for students to see why it's important to be there. So I think that we have a way now to one track, but also to really have an organic way of making sure that students want to be there and knows them and see why they're not. We look to figure out ways to support them in getting them to go on school. The next one is family and student partnerships. Whenever I speak with a parent, and my APs do the same, it's not just about discipline, or it's not just about a concern. Pull up students profile, we talk about their grades, we talk about every class in their attendance. Well, so and so may have missed this many classes, they're doing really well here. Or so it's a whole approach that I think is really helping parents to feel that they're involved and they are hearing a whole picture of their student. It's not just tonight, it's not, my gosh, it is, we are a team, we work together to try to get your student to be the best that they could be and to be successful on the outside of the Monticello School District. So there is a clear communication. We are consistently, our guidance team is sending out expectations for our seniors. We have the senior checklist that is going out. We have had our meetings, we have upcoming classes as Reagan has shared. So there's consistent, constant support for families, and the feedback that we are receiving is very positive.
So to piggyback off of that, I got to experience this being my office being over there. They do positive referrals, and it is the best thing in the world when you can give a kid a positive referral. They're like, they're shocked, they're unexpected. I was like, some nice young man held the door open for me. I had my bags full, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give you a positive referral. He's like, what's that? Like, someone's gonna call him and let them know how awesome it was what you just said. And he was like, I've never had that before. So even little things like that are really building the partnership. So I appreciate that, having that interaction, to still be able to do that. So the cohort principal and guidance team approach, the APs have grade levels. That also helps with our MTSS meetings, because then they can attend to the meetings to really speak to the child. So that's helped. The guidance team and I meet every week. We have about an hour meeting where we're going through the steps of what we're seeing with kiddos, including the senior meeting checklist and the freshman checklist, how they're talking with students. It's really become not a bunch of counselors. We have a guidance team that work together, that are learning and growing. There's questions, so they're not afraid to ask them. They've been great at scheduling meetings. They prioritize. They've been putting out parent swears, and we'll continue to work on that. I do know they just had a bunch of senior meetings, because I get a bunch of emails saying we have these meetings. What we're also doing now is taking all of those plans the seniors craft for what they're interested in, and on the data board, we're linking it to their need. So now teachers can know that if Jen Ford is interested in science, and I can see what her future career paths are, I can get to know that student better, and the counselors establish that plan to then make sure the teachers are getting that information on those students. So I think that's been really helpful.
The other thing that we are working to is the guidance team and department chairs are meeting to go over the various classes that students may not be aware of. You know, we are so unique and we have such great opportunities in high school. But a common thing that I heard in last year was, we didn't know these classes existed. So in our first meeting with students this year, at the beginning of the year, we had the department chairs share the various classes for their department, but now it's also educating and informing the guidance team so they can speak to that when they have these guidance meetings with their students. Another thing is counseling and wellness supports. We do that partnership with Astor Services and it's in school, we are seeing great success with that. Our families are very open to those referrals and students are accessing that support, so that is just an added layer to help address mental health and social emotional wellness. Also, the one-to-one guidance meeting, again, I'm hearing, as you've heard from Reagan, that they are really successful this year and they're not just, you're a number and you get hit the checklist and getting you done, no, it's individualized, it's catered to the student. And it's nice to see those relationships developing.
So along with those one-to-one guidance meetings, we have professional development around the pathways. The pathways are changing and with the Blue Ribbon Commission and their recommendations, we'll see a shift in things in a few years too, when that cohort goes through. So right now we're doing ongoing PD for staff on graduation pathways and career readiness. On opening day, I shared some information with the staff so they could be more knowledgeable. But where we're really starting with that base is the school counselors and making sure they're knowledgeable in those pathways because they're really that first stop. So once a week, we do a pathway education where I send out like, here's all the information and here's a couple of scores. What pathway do you think they would be best with? What questions do you need to ask this student? What questions do you need to ask this parent to know what pathway you can help this student find? So that's been really helpful. This week, it's the IAP. I have Ms. Sywalski because she is the master at that. So I emailed her and I said, I'm on. Can you put together a blurb that I can share with the school counselors so we can make sure we're doing this with fidelity and then we can turnkey that out. Not this conference day, but the next conference day, there will be a PD session for teachers to attend on the pathways because some teachers know some of the pathways, they know the traditional pathways, but there's been a lot more. We also have the annual review of student transcripts to monitor progress and credits. So any student who is out of cohort is highlighted and the teachers can know. The student is short credits, they maybe need to graduate and they're a year behind. Is there something we can do to get them caught up? What it also does is helps us look at the students who are soaring. Is there more things we can do for them? Are we tapping into all of their interests? So it's not just one or the other, it's really a complete picture. So when we look at those transcripts, if I'm noticing a student's really been doing well in math, but they kind of stopped taking math classes, maybe that's a conversation to have with that student to explore. Is there something we can get them re-engaged in to keep pursuing that if that's an interest? We've also been able to alleviate some things that maybe in transcripts weren't accurate or what they needed to be. So it's really been a priority that we review those transcripts. We did it with beginning of the year, I do it in January again, just to make sure we're doing right by the kids. So the transcript review has really also helped us kind of lead the kids with pathways with what's gonna work for them.
And the discussion that's occurring is phenomenal. And the APs to the guidance team, Laura and I, we're doing this in our sleep last year, at the end of the year. And, that drive and that passion to make sure things are done right and done to the best ability to support the students is what we're about. So it goes to the next page. So advisory days and student engagement for the graduation task force. We have those monthly sessions that address certain things that go with studying, readiness, and things of that nature. The seniors had blog day and they met to go over their guided senior checklist plan as a big group. And not to mention the ninth graders have their ninth grade academy where they're specifically working on study skills, life skills, and career readiness to prepare them and guide them through their high school career. Obviously, we're setting goals and make self-awareness, having those historic conversations. Students know who to go to when they have an issue, and with the rates of incidents in the high school have decreased tremendously, and I think that's this that you're hearing tonight. The next is the instructional focus, pedagogy and playbook. My APs and I are working really hard, and I actually met with the instructional coaches from the district today, and we really are having an intent. They all are speaking the same language. We're making sure these lessons are focused, that they're engagement, not compliance, that there's differentiation based on the student's needs. And that when we are doing our observations of teachers, that we have intent behind what feedback we are giving. We make sure that in my building, since mine is that we talk about what we see with the teachers, we bring it back to the instructional playbook and we provide suggestions. So they could have a 3, which is great, but what's the next step that you could make it a 4? So we talk about those opportunities and we talk about what we see and have those conversations to ensure that it's we're all on the same page with that. And our instructional coaches are, we work with my team as well, just to continue that common language so that we are working on the same type of things as the instructional coaching for our observation. So again, that feedback and that target observation, I think is really important. And that real world component, the survey that we sent out to the district last year, my high school students want to know what I'm learning and how it connects to the real world. That was something that we really wanted to see in our lessons, and we are seeing those things, and the connections are happening. So it's a work in progress. It is not perfect. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be a lot better because these students are going to rise to the occasion because we have a great bunch of kids here.
So, college and career readiness initiative, so again, this was, part of the graduation task force. So we have the college and career fair planning already happening. So, we've already started to create partnerships with places to come in. The, guidance team actually, prioritized some standards, and one of their priority standards was college and career readiness. So they're using that to drive what they're gonna do for the college and career fair. It was successful last year, but they're really striving on how they can make it better, better marketing, better branding, like they're really focusing and being intentional. So that's coming up in the spring, we'll be doing that. As I said earlier with the Seal of Biliteracy, our native speaker course expansion has really increased that seal, and the reason that's important is it opens a pathway to graduation for any student who wants Seal of Biliteracy or other pathways to pursue whatever option they want to after school. We also have the Counseling Department Career Exploration Plan. So that guides the counselors through 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, different check marks they should be working on with those students. So they know at the end of 9th grade, these 9th grade students should be prepared to discuss this. The end of 9th grade students should know how many credits they have on their transcript. So that might be one of the check marks that they work on with the students, as well as different careers that they want to explore. It's also in our comprehensive guidance plan, which we have a meeting, an advisory council meeting this week to review. Like I said, the data board, the senior sheets. I'm excited to say the high school staff really is using that data board a lot. So now with the addition of this, I have Jenna in my class and I don't know what she's interested in. I don't know what she wants to do. They're able to see what that kiddo's career plans are. Do they want to go to college? Do they want to go into the workforce? Where do they want to go? So they can start to bring that real world application right to their students in class. Taking it a year back, because we're really trying to do vertical alignment, the WIN classes in the middle school have 21 first century skills embedded in them, as well as career development. So I know, one meeting I had been asked about organizational skills, and the kiddos did an agenda. They had to write their own agenda. This month, they're practicing writing emails. They're learning punctuation is important. So they're going through those steps, but by learning those things in middle school, when they get to high school, it's one more way we can tap into these students' skill sets. We've also increased a lot of our partnerships, which I know something Jen and I take pride in. We met with Bethel. We have a partnership with Bethel Woods right now. Our kiddos have started to go. Sullivan County tourists. We met with them this week, and we are going to work on forming a partnership with them for our CTE approved program. They were excited, we were excited. I also snagged them to come to the career fair.
Their board meeting so that we can meet and network, bring those opportunities to us.
So that one is, I think, the one we're most particularly excited about, because they wanna hire our students, they wanna employ our students, they want our students to stay in the community. So when we were explaining, hey, we have the CTE program, this is what we're doing, he's like, perfect, that's what we need, that's what we wanna do. All of the things, so I think those partnerships also help with the college and career. A student might be Monticello now and say, I've got a job, visitor center, I'm good, I'm doing what I wanted to do, I've got my CTE credits. And we're building that opportunity for them now, so I'm hoping, and I know John's hoping, as we start to get more partnerships, it's gonna make other people hungry for more partnerships. So keep sending them our way, we'll reach out and we'll get them, so that's one of the things I know we're particularly excited about.
Yeah, and with CTE, this is just to begin. We have talented staff, we have great programs, and honestly, as we get rolling, I looked through application of these two, and I know the process now, I have a connection in New York State, who's going to come here with a program to give us tweaks and advice on what to do. It was a great experience for me going through this process to see what we already have and where we can bring more opportunity for our students to succeed, right? So we want them to be career ready. We want them to have those problem solving skills. We want them to be able to think for themselves and know, if I have this issue, I can go here. If I have this issue, I can go here. Or I have these skills, so I know I'm the best in this life. So again, our leadership, my administration, our guidance down to our teachers, down to our security staff, down to our maintenance and building and grounds. They are all sharing this vision. They are all seeing, when we walk into our building, it's a different feel. When we walk into our building, our kids look like high school kids. We walk into the classrooms, their heads are up and they are engaged. Yes, there are gonna be some times where students are, having disciplinary consequences. That's reality. But the reality is we are way far moving in the right direction compared to where we started. And these students, you can see that. You can see it in their faces when they come in, and you can hear it from the parents. So although those region scores are what we want, that's only one piece of the puzzle that we're creating a legacy for Monticello. So that's our passion. Kids are my passion. We'll make it happen.
So some of these next steps we've talked about, but just kind of things that we're gonna continue to do and to focus on. Yeah. So that first one again is that the MTSS identification and the attendance analytics, there's nothing more. We've got to be more proactive and less reactive. That's really what's gonna change things. I think we're getting there, but it's something we still need to continue to focus on. If it's not continuing to be a priority and a focus for us, I don't want us to go back to being more reactive. So that first bullet is something I know we're really want to continue to prioritize and make a focus as we move forward with our students.
When I spoke about the CTE college and credit pathways, we're there. We're all there. I would challenge us to continue to offer additional opportunities for our students there. I think that it's a great path to start with us. I mean, we see that, yeah, college is definitely one pathway, but we know that things are another. And we have some really talented students and we have the opportunities right here without having to go outside of Monticello to provide that. So that is something that we're gonna continue to work on.
So AIS, I think our big lift for next year is, we're really gonna take time when we build that schedule to make sure we're building those priorities. There should never have to be a choice between me getting extra help and having this class, or I wanna take honors, but I have this. So we need to work on making sure that schedule is accessible and it's student centered first. We're gonna get better with it. It's just gonna take time. I think we've learned a lot this year and we'll continue to learn, but it's still gonna remain a top priority for us.
So just again, we're being proactive instead of reactive. I think that's a key takeaway for you guys to remember tonight. We are proactive instead of reactive. We are putting the students first and making sure that we are not only focusing on test scores, we're not focusing on just those grades, we're focusing on the whole student and the family, because we know that it takes all of us to make these kids have success in life. And I want that experience for them to be one that they remember. So I think we're doing that. I think you will see the improvements in our scores. You will see the improvements as we go, it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some time, but we are moving in the right direction. And with your support, with Dr. Abby's support, it's kind of like we are getting it. So we thank you for that and will continue to work hard to make sure that we get the results we want to see.
Questions from the table?
First, I'm gonna start by saying, the two of you have 100% now, within 2 years, we're gonna see massive success in our students. When you guys first came, I know change was hard, but I can't even express how hard you guys have changed that. I've seen, I know the board has seen, it's amazing. I do have a question, the senior checklist, is that like in a folder or binder that you guys sent home?
So, it was sent home in a parent square, it was sent, so it went to students and families. But we also just created almost like a brochure with all of the information, so it talks, there's a page on FAFSA and how to handle that and what documents you'll need. There's a, checklist on, what you need for your application and examples of solid, essays and areas. So those are things that we're working on, but I can provide the board with those examples if you're, not encouraged, but you should be. So you should have gotten it from the guidance team sent out the checklist, but I can send it again. I did link it though in my board report. There was a October newsletter, so see that and on there I did link that. It has a lot of the information you'll need to see for seniors. And there's a QR code and things of that nature that the guidance team has prepared.
So you don't send it home like a hard copy?
No, we don't send home a hard copy. We can. We have it out on the bulletin board so students can take it as they go. Right along with the scholarships for the month. So those are all posted. So we have that stuff for the students. My hope is that the students that I know, and I understand that not all will, but that's how we send those communications home. But I want them to be a part of that process. So that stuff is there. And I think because of the discussions we're having with them, they are taking an active role before they took the vaccine. So now I think students are taking an active role in getting that. I saw just today, there was a couple of kids, pulling off some of the pamphlets that are now there and available to them, and they are updated pretty much weekly. So our guidance, our board, our scholarship page, that is updated weekly. So, again, we're just doing better. And so those opportunities are available if the parents, need them. But again, we ask parents if you have questions or aren't seeing something, just reach out.
Now, you talk about the transcripts, so then the transcript, and the child is short, speak to that child, you let the parents know as well, hey, your child.
So that we ran into a case where we had a transfer kiddo and they were short quite a few credits, and looking at the transcript, we had to essentially redo their whole schedule. Like every single period was gonna end up getting changed to fit those in, and I was like, before you make any change, we've had that conversation, always call the parent first, parent or guardian first, to say this is what's happening. So they had to call and say, listen, I've gotta get this kiddo in a PE and I've gotta get him in this algebra, I gotta get him in this money matters. This is why, so they're back on track. So those conversations happen, and we put into place that the counselors or whoever had that conversation has to put a note in schools. So that way you're not getting 6 calls from me and John to say he's short of PE. Like, we have the documentation to say we've called home to let them know this is what happened and these are our next steps. So that does happen, and we do have the documentation for it.
Parents online able to see the transcript?
So it's not yet, we're working. So we're working with Shannon Levinson. School Tool has an analytics dashboard that we have access to. So we're working right now, the teachers can go in and pull up a student and show the student. Like, it'll give them literally progress toward what they need to graduate. So it'll show them where they're short, all of that. We're working on getting the parent feature, so a student can go on to School Tool and click on their students that analytics button, and it'll show them that whole picture. I'm gonna give Shannon and ourselves credit, we were a little ahead of the game, they were looking for a school to pilot it, and we said, we will, send it our way, we're ready to do this, so it's not there yet, but knowing Shannon and knowing our team, we're gonna be one of the first districts to have it.
Can you talk about the trades? Do we, how much, do you know how many students we have in welding? Yeah, I'm just curious, because I know that they, give the tests. Like, parents would have to pay for it, but they can go out of the welding.
So you have to what we have purchased now, are purchasing. Through for our CTA accreditation, is precision exams, and those are the same things that BOCES give to give them that certification. So our students will be taking those as well. You know, I did visit a school to see their welding program that they had within house. I don't think we're there yet, but I think that's something that we approach.
Thank you. Michelle Kelsey.
Ashley, proceed.
What times is your schedule for guidance to be with each student? So typically a couple times a year, and I'm just thinking, this is like, you're speaking on the MTSS about looking over the projected post-graduation plans, but also the status of the graduation pathway. So I'm just curious, I'm thinking typically is the beginning of the year. Are you saying that also maybe midway and at the end?
So they do, yeah, we're gonna speak. So they do, you know, it's based on the individual child and their need, we may have expectations in our guidance, checklist in our guidance, plan of when they are supposed to meet with each grade level. So that is clearly outlined for the students, but that's the minimum, right? We encourage the students to go in and ask for appointments to speak with them on a regular basis. We're seeing that happening now. And, you know, anytime students need something, they are available. If you find our students use Teams messaging quite often, and they're consistently communicating with their guidance counselor, if not also meeting with them. So we encourage as much time as possible, but they are meeting on a consistent basis. So we finished our senior meetings, we're meeting for our freshman meetings, and then that process continues. So there's a lot of students, but it's not a unmanageable caseload, so that's why our guidance counselors can be done one of those times.
We have a guidance calendar, and the guidance calendar are the priorities, right? Like either they have to get done in the month. And then when we meet every week, that's where we kind of get the update. They're like, I did 10 senior meetings this week, but I also worried about a couple of these juniors. So it's not like they're waiting until that month to meet with the kiddo. But they do have that spread out across so they know the trend. For January regions, which are rapidly approaching, they called the students in to say, this is what you need to take. This is the score you need to get. Like, what can I do to help? I actually sat in a school counselor, made a whole plan with the kiddo, like what nights are you staying with tutorials? So they're having those meetings, so there's more awareness around the kids just not walking in January going, I'm here to take a test, like.
So we say what test.
Yeah, so they're meeting ongoing throughout the year with the kiddos.
Thank you. And then I just wanted to comment that when you said students, when they know what their plan is, it makes them less anxious, it makes them more comfortable in here and more focused on learning, knowing that there's a plan for afterwards, and I need hard. I agree with that wholeheartedly, so I appreciate your.
Not really a question, but just some positive feedback and being a parent, a senior who went for senior meeting, for checklists and all that kind of good stuff. Guidance team has been great, and even with doing recommendations and common app questions and everything else.
They're new, but they are eager and they are excited, and it's, that passion is so nice to see. Thank you.
No question on the table. Less of a question, more of a statement as well. It'll be interesting to see for the College of Career Readiness Initiatives, how we work in and utilize what is about to be our new externship coordinator and use him. What I hear he's very, very good at and adept at, and how you utilize that.
We've actually had many different meetings, and it's excited and already dabbling, and it's exciting to have that passion here, so.
Got a virtual tie.
Hey, thank you, President Crumley. I couldn't, yes, although you ladies had your back to the camera, I could not but help and hear and see and feel your smiles, and surgeons couldn't cut those off of you. Let me just say, I am so absolutely thankful and proud of you and the work that you've done. I appreciate even the high schoolers that are sitting there snickering at the camera. Yes. I hope that each and every one of you actually goes and tells at least one friend of the pathway to success that is being paved for you here at Monticello. These women are pouring their heart and their souls. I see that you obviously have taken that magic from St. John Street and sprinkled it all over here, like Frank's hot sauce. I see that. It is absolutely a treat. I am so thankful. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for returning that Monty pride. You can't take that away once they earn that. And I am eternally grateful. Thank you very much. Please keep up your good work. You have my undivided support, 110%.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. We appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
Moving on from there, we have our consent agenda. Ms. Jersey,
I make a motion to accept consent agenda items B1 and B1 as a two.
do I have a second on that? By Mrs. Stalter, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Jersey. Moving on from there, we have information reports and discussions, board roundtable. I'll start off with Ms. Jersey.
We had a policy meeting before this, which was very productive. We also had a board retreat on last Saturday, which I thought was great, and I've gone to a lot of volleyball.
Ms. Jersey, Ms. Stalter.
I attended the cross-country section of championships, as a graduation meeting. And the board retreat, and I also had the pleasure of stopping the sectional quarterfinal.
Graduation committee meetings. Yeah. I hope stadium's done. Have they tossed around the idea if that happens, what extra stuff might need to be gotten to be able to pull that off? Like saddle chairs and things of that nature?
Yes, that's a great question. The answer is yes. That's the reason you included Mr. Patino and Mr. Castor to see the small intricacies that would utilize the field. I would say, executing the event of being students.
Well, no matter what, even if that was not ready and had it outside someplace else, we would have to rent chairs, renting the appropriate chair for you to go. Okay, as long as you guys are talking about it. That's awesome. Mrs. Gustafson.
I also took part in the board retreat over the weekend. That was a great time, very informative. And like Ellen, I spent my life at volleyball for the last few months.
Mrs. Riley.
Okay, I attended the Halloween parade at Chase School. And I also attended the policy committee prior to this, and then also the board retreat. But I just want to mention about the Halloween parade. It was on Halloween, so it was last Friday, and I just want to say that teachers and aides and staff, they were dressed in pencils, erasers, notepads. They got into it. The SRO led the parade, and security was also front, and we were playing a Halloween playlist on a large speaker that was blasting through the village, and also the music teacher, Benjamin Corbett, he led 3 students, my son Liam included, he led them in a marching band that they were super proud about. And it's the 3 students that were chosen, they pick percussion as their band instrument. Even though it's not offered next year's 6th grade, they still really wanted to do it in 5th grade. So I just thought it's great that Mr. Corbett to still honor that and try to encourage that. So they had a great time. I also want to bring up trustee Victoria LaRusso, how today's her last day as a board member here. And I just want to say some things about this journey because Victoria started 3 years ago, 2022, and we ran together the same ticket, and we were both elected, and And prior to that, we were going to school board meetings together and trying to make a difference. So for starters, I just want to say that this is for you. It's a little pamphlet here. And it's a vase and it has your name and it says Monticello School Board. The dates, and then it has scripture verse 2 Corinthians 4:7. So I'm just gonna pass this down. And I'll just read a little bit and then. So Victoria and I started about 4 years ago when we were coming with a group of parents. And we just met them while we were here, and it was around the time, you remember, where students were masking up. And so we started going to meetings to know more about what we could do for our kids. After going through Monticello Parents United and assembled to get some traction going and looking at meetings for locally, Moms for Liberty, something to find support and how to help out. It just morphed into you were holding handmade signs in front of the entryway to the high school, just claiming that we wanted our kids to stop wearing the masks. It was already a year and a half in. And actually, Long Island had a court case. I looked up January 31st, 2022. They had a court case where it said we don't need to do anymore, but Governor Hochul said, yes, we do. So that's when we went out and said, no, this isn't fair. That's the year that we ran and we were voted in to be on the board here. And in preparation of that, we read this book together, 5 Chairs, 5 Choices. But she's done an excellent job at being the center chair, whereas I still feel at times I'm the one on the end with the Bernie Sanders grumpy mittens. But anyway, we've done things like what was voted against opt-out measures for student surveys, where our current policy was that we needed to opt into it. So that was one thing that we worked on together, or we agreed together. And then also, mainly, we looked through policy that may go against what we think is the right thing to do, not for our beliefs specifically, but our biblical beliefs, how we think is what we were supposed to be against. So I just wanted to say that Victoria, it's been a pleasure to have you on board. And the scripture verse that I chose was actually what we say a lot about, just being the vessel. And just doing what the Bible says to do. So thank you, I appreciate you.
Mrs. Riley, Mr. Groden.
Thanks, President Crumley. I would like to echo Trustee Riley. I can totally remember when you were, before you even ran, I remember you when you were this big, when you would come up to the microphone, and sometimes they didn't even have a microphone, and sometimes they had us masked. That was a thing. Thank you for all your hard work, your diligence, and the way that you brought your investigative skills from work to this, and definitely didn't go unnoticed. It's you're a gem. I'm very sad to see you go. I'm very thankful for all your hard work. I know you put your heart and soul into it, and for that I'm truly blessed. The pleasure I had being in the Saturday workshop with the entire board was a treat. Got to find out just how green I was in that personality part of thinking outside the box, and I will forever be out there. So I'd like to do, just to continue that I am so happy to see what's happening with the track, so enamored to hear what is happening in the high school, and it's terrific. Just, I am so proud of the district that it's nothing but up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Broden. It appears that we've lost Miss Galligan. Yes, right? Okay. Mr. Plum.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Coleman. I attend to the NISBA, that's the New York State School Board Association. I went to that meeting, that was extraordinary. I gathered a lot of information, then I believe it's gonna be very helpful to all our community. And very intense, there was.
Okay.
But very interesting, so. Also, I attended the board retreat, that was super interesting too, and I hope we can continue develop and learning a lot how it works. Because also, I want to show my appreciation to Victoria. She is the one that pushed me to be here. So usually push me. So yes, but for sure.
Mr. Russo.
I attended the policy meeting for this meeting. I attended the board trip this weekend. ASO wrapped up, I've watched the little ones, 9 of them for scouts, 2 in the winter, 101. And I love staying with Genty. And I think all the board members as well. It was difficult when we first started these meetings. Time ago when I'm out the rent. How long we fought for much as our shoulder for all the students in my center. And so we'll be grateful for the time I spent for our community, and I appreciate the massive amount of outreach that I received since people found out that I was new, and my phone hasn't stopped, text messaging hasn't stopped from the community, the teachers, the staff, and I appreciate it. And I hope to have the surgical as well, there's more than one person that comes in, and person investigates and just what needs to be done. Thank you.
I as well attended the Lisbon Convention, last week.
2 weeks.
Was it 2 weeks ago? Down in New York City, very informative, very good. Done very well. Next year we'll be in Buffalo. So if anyone wants to take a quick 5-hour ride, that'll be in Buffalo next year. Policy previous to this, we were reviewing much older policies just to put eyeballs on them. We don't have any recommendations from the New York State Education Department at the present moment, but we did want to kind of dust out the back of the closet, so to say. The retreat last weekend worked out very well. Our presenter did a very good job, so thanks to her. Sports, want to give a shout out to the volleyball team and the cross country team. Both have these cross country still have sectionals coming up. No, it's over. The volleyball team does have a sectional game in Port Jervis tonight, which actually also coincides with our football, our varsity football senior night tomorrow night in Port Jervis. Kind of worked out that we ended up moving this meeting, so we can attend that. Vicky kind of alluded to it real quick. We do have it posted on the website at the present moment with the vacancy that is coming to the board after this Friday. Anybody from the public can put in an application to have board consideration for that vacancy. And last but not least, Mrs. LaRusso, thank you so much for your years of volunteer service to the Monticello Central School District. Wendy needed the rush on the board gift that is coming to your house. She had that sent directly to you there, and as everyone sitting around the table knows, for those of you who don't, this is a volunteer position. We give up a lot of our time and give a lot of effort to do this, and there are no exceptions to that. And thank you so much for your volunteer service and so one last round of applause. Principal reports. Any questions, comments, concerns surrounding the principal reports? All right, you guys are off scot-free. Next up, we did have a policy committee meeting prior to this meeting. Dr. Evans, do you have anything to add?
Not really, other than there are 4 policies that are on the agenda tonight for a second review and potential adoption by the board. As was mentioned earlier, we've kind of we're all caught up with NISBA's recommended policy changes. And we're going back through now and looking at policies that the Board of Education has not reviewed in some time. So comparing that with updated New York State School Boards Association policies, or what their model policies are. So I believe at the next meeting, we have 2 policies with no changes, but just asking the board to do a general review of. I think 2 other policies where we're doing a first read and possible adoption because the changes are very minimal. And it's about bringing the current policies up to what this goes with. And that's it. Any questions around the policy? Thank you very much, Dr. Evans. Correspondence outcomes, we have none at this time, which brings us to our capital project update. Once again, Dr. Evans. Thank you, President Crumley. So good evening again, everyone. There's a lot going on with our capital project right now. A few steps forward, and we've kind of run into our first delay or potential delay, if you will. First, the bad news, it's not terribly bad news, but it is causing some delay. Our contractors have been digging out, kind of the footings and the base of what will become a stadium. And in doing so, had plans, had done some temporary drainage plans that would hopefully have drained water appropriately directly away from that pit. That's really what it is at the moment. However, last week's rains overcame that plan and caused it to fill up with water and caused it to drain into one of the new retention ponds that it was not meant to do, and sediment got into that retention. So our construction managers and architects have been working with the general contractor to mitigate that. And they have drained the water from it, and they have right now are working on kind of remediations of it, and we are going to have the geotechnical engineer come back out to inspect the site. But chances are that the board or whatever that base would have been may have been compromised with the rain because it's clay. So we're anticipating that some additional fill may need to go in to better support the stadium. Talking to the architect and our construction managers this morning in our owners meeting, they didn't know yet if it would cause any delay. They're hoping that it doesn't, but they really want to wait and see what the geotechnical engineer comes up with after their visit next week. But they did get right on it once it, flooding was identified, and now there is a mitigation plan in place for additional rains. And most importantly, the track and field are protected from flooding with additional silt fencing, and I think there was some other good. But in better news, tonight the board will be awarding the bid for the window replacement at here at Monticello High School. So that bid did come in. And we also, I have in my report that BVS Architects submitted proposed plans for Rutherford Elementary School, which are the same as what Cook got last summer, and the softball field concession stand. They submitted those last week. And Tuesday morning when I wrote this up, I'm thinking, all right, it's going to be probably before Christmas. The Architects and Design Office of State Ed just this afternoon approved these designs. So that's really lightning fast turnaround. It'll be a few more weeks before finance and some other divisions of facilities planning gets back. But this is very promising news that those plans were approved by state eds, architects and designers. So some excellent progress. So, yeah.
Any questions or concerns surrounding the capital project? Thank you very much, Dr. F. Upcoming events listed off in your agenda. Community events, lots of, quite a few articles there, surrounding the school and our students. Any questions or comments from the public?
No.
Not at this time. Moving on from that, we have our superintendent update information. Dr. F.
Thank you again, President Crumley. So I too attended the NISBA annual convention 2 weeks ago in New York, along with President Crumley, Trustee Brown Malone, and Ms. Carlin. And I would just reiterate, for next year it's in Buffalo, and I would encourage any board member, especially if you haven't attended it before, to consider attending. One other thing with the capital project that I neglected to mention is that we are nearing the winter and the month of February, which our architects believe the capital project committee should meet at that time to consider, one, to get a general progress update, but also to make a determination on you there, Todd? On the scoreboard. So
Down here, thank you.
what I'm seeking from President Crumley, Trustee Groden, Trustee Jersey, and Trustee Riley are, right now we have board meetings scheduled for February 5th, and typically there's the policy committee that meets before that, and then February 19th. The February 19th meeting will be at St. John Street, that's a big issue, but we will meet there. Or if you have a better date that month, we could pitch it to the architects and the construction managers to say, how about, February 12th or February 11th. So I don't know if you have your calendars handy and preferences. We can do this either like right before a board meeting or 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever works. Right now, board. I just want to get back to those groups. Well, February 5th would be a that's policy committee.
Have them come and present or just have a capital project meeting?
They would, if they weren't here in person, they would be attending these
Or meeting or presentation?
for a meeting with the committee, not the whole.
Rather, what, so you want to have it at some point in February?
Yeah. They feel that they're confident that they'll have enough information to say, here's how much money is available for scoreboard, but also to give you a general update.
Todd, are you gonna be back in February or are you gonna still be remote?
It depends on what date. So I believe right now, remote at this time. If otherwise, I'll text you the update.
All right. Well, I mean, you can always zoom in anyways.
I'll put on my cape.
The problem with the third.
I have a graduation committee for o'clock. Yes.
How long is it? Okay,
On five.
5. Would you be okay with 5 on?
February 3rd.
Yeah. 5 o'clock, February 3rd, Todd.
February 3rd, 5. Perfect.
Yep.
And if that's an issue with the architects or the construction manager, but they have a lot of good teams. So
Yeah.
people there. Also tonight, the board will be considering a student athlete shadowing agreement with the alpine skier from the Eldridge Central School District. They do not have an alpine ski team. So they've asked to shadow our team for the winter. This would be at no additional expense to our program. It would not bump anyone from our program. They would be like a team of one for the Eldridge Central School District. They would be responsible for transportation, they'd be responsible for coaching and supervision. But they just don't have a bona fide team recognized by a section. So in order for this skier to compete, they would shadow our ski team. We've done similar things with other districts in the past, and most recently with Pine Bush Central School District. We sent a swimmer about 3 years ago with Monticello swimmer, team of one shadowed the Pine Bush.
Our staff
Just saying yes to Elbridge, does that mean if somebody from Liberty by chance want to do something, they would go through the process to do the same?
I believe Liberty has its own team, but let's say another team that doesn't have a ski team, if they rock, for example. It would still be a similar process where you'd have to have two boards of ed. You know, like the shadow school district and the school district with the team. Agreed. Okay, it basically just, the skiers' times won't be factored into our team's times. She's really just a team of one and before the workplace.
They
So they can, yeah.
wouldn't be a member of our team. But for practice purposes, they're the shadow of team.
That's fine. In late breaking news, as was mentioned earlier, about our state ed approvals of CTE proposals that, our administrators put forward. Yesterday, we received official word that our hospitality and tourism application was approved by state ed. And just this afternoon, I received an email from state ed saying our business and marketing, program was approved by state ed. So, congratulations to our administrators. Ms. Carlin, and our teachers, and all teachers and supports, that project is still forward. Also late news that was not on my agenda because it came out late yesterday, the state education department has approved and will be requiring school districts to provide personal finance education, climate education for all students K through 12. And these need to be fully implemented by the 28-29 school year. So they have kind of like tiered implementation laid out, personal finance education for students in grades 5 through 12 next school year. And then by 27-28, K-12. Climate education in 2027-28 school year for grades 5 through 12. And then 28-29 for K-12. More to come on that. We don't know yet the extent of what personal finance education means. Is it units in an existing curricula? Is it a standalone course? More to come on that, but that just came out yesterday. We wanted to bring the board's attention. I'm continuing with my school visits and lunches. Last week I was at Cook. Earlier today I was at the middle school and enjoyed my time there. And student attendance. We've drafted, still in very draft form, what we're setting as common school level attendance practices that are going to account for notifications of chronically absent students and their parents and caregivers. That'll happen every 5 weeks. Recognition of perfect and excellent attendance, as Ms. Gore mentioned earlier. They're requiring that schools do that quarterly. They can do it more frequently. They want to do it every month. That's fine, but from a district level, we're requiring all schools to do it quarterly. And then we still have yet to finalize more details on kind of the notification sequence for excessive absences. In other words, reaching out to county agencies in consideration of an education neglect decision. So right now, we're probably about 3/4 of the way through it. I would say that's kind of the final piece. This is kind of a supplement to the attendance policy. But it's not the attendance policy. It's basically what we're allowed to do under the attendance policy, which is kind of develop school level procedures that we expect common practices across all schools. So give a draft for that. It's getting to be budget season. So that means Ms. Bela has developed the proposed budget calendar for the upcoming school year. We're going to be asking you to approve that at the next meeting, but we wanted to get some feedback from you first on the Board of Education Budget Committee meeting. We're proposing to be at 5:30 on the night of January 22nd. Do see that we have a high school, that meeting's in the high school cafeteria. See that we have a liaison walk through then, so maybe 5 o'clock. Do you have the committees having this cost of the budget committee? Well, hell, it isn't. Okay, but was up.
Melinda is too, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah. Melinda, Colin.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna aim for, we'll get you that information for sure, but we pencil in 5 o'clock on January 22nd. We hope to have the governor's budget proposal by that. And Last but not least, we are closed next Tuesday in recognition of Veterans Day. On the Acton District, I want to express my appreciation for all of our veterans in the community and the veterans in our country for the service and sacrifices they made. So I thank them. Everyone enjoy the day off.
Well, yeah, any questions for that? Right.
Second question, so RIP, you know. Across the board, every school district have gotten same one,
When you say document,
like. Okay, accepted the concept, parents and the answer, there would be really no in. What are they doing?
we can, I mean, I guess it should be documented in school tools, but we can, that would be where they should.
Right, so it's all being done.
Yeah.
Okay. It makes sense the district has made to correct the situation.
Sure, I can.
Okay, my second question. You talk about the shadow, like, so they don't have the same rash, as you're saying.
Right.
So they're coming to shadow here. So if the two boards come together, so a board will come here and saying, hey, we don't have a team, but we like a student to shadow.
They have to approve that student to do it. We have to approve them to let them do it.
So in that agreement, you'll see there's two signatures. Eldred Board of Education will be acting on the same agreement mostly.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so Mr. Jasper asked to get this on tonight because the next board meeting is after the season starts. So he has to give notice to the section for season starts for the election. So that's why it's on the agenda tonight. Eldridge Board will be considering it next week, but the athletic directors have agreed to it. Spoken, emailed with the Eldridge superintendent, so that she'll be putting it to her board next week. Yeah, we do have, I mean, most other school districts will kind of go ski, like Liberty does, Wellsburg, right, but I don't think encouraged.
Yeah, some of them might be,
It's all the West has one, so most of them do. Sure. Yeah, it can be done for any school.
Any other questions for Dr. Elder? Thank you very much, Matt. Moving on from there, we have Assistant Superintendent of Business, Mrs. Baylor.
Thank you, President Brown. This evening, I have several special education reimbursement agreements. This is for some allocation from our IPA grants to 7 schools that our students attend. I have 2 agreements, one with Fallsburg and one with Eldred for local welfare services that they provided during the 24-25 school year. And I just have them. They did have the number of students incorrect, so when we get the invoice from them, we will be. Dr. Evans has mentioned already the award of the partial window replacement bid to Girls Window Corporation. That's replacing the windows in the high school library. Finally, I have an SC board to approve an MOA with the county Sullivan to us to purchase road salt. It's much cheaper to get it in bulk. We would need this person.
Any questions, Mrs. Baylor? Thank you very much, Lisa. Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction Update. We don't have anything there. We're good.
I don't have anything on the agenda, but I'd like to thank our presenters tonight and thank you.
So much, Mrs. Carlin. Moving on from there, we have our action item.
I make a motion to take action items S1 through S17, I think.
Do I have a second on that? Mrs. Stalter, discussion,
I'd like to remove 4 of the
S18 through S21.
correct.
That's why, yeah, right now we're just to S17.
Oh. Sorry.
All good. So S1 to S17 is approved by the second by Ms. Stalter. Completed the discussion, all in favor? Motion carries. Ms. Jersey,
I'd like to approve action items S1 through S17.
do I have a second on that? By Mrs. LaRusso, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Mrs. Jersey,
I'd like to take action items S18 through S21 and the approval.
do I have a second on that? Mrs. LaRusso, any discussion? All in favor? As approved. Mrs. Jersey,
I'd like to approve action items S18 to S21 as approved.
do I have a second on that? Do I have a second on that? Mrs. Stalter, any discussion? Mrs. Mrs. Riley,
So this was brought up last meeting, so same issue applies, but maybe I can be more streamlined when I say it this time. Out of the 4 policies, there are parentheses that describe gender. So for example, for policy 110.2, sexual harassment in the workplace. Page 4, paragraph 3, the last line, after gender identity or expression, in parentheses, it says perceived or actual. This happens in every policy of those 4 policies, but then in some policies, there's another area where it's describing gender or sex. My thought is, because being at the policy committee and discussing this with our lawyer, the understanding is this is not required. It's just a good thing to have in his thoughts, because it would cover us if necessary. How I see it as, if it's not necessary, then it should not be included. Because if you're already covered in the New York State Constitution and the human rights area and everything else, you do not need to then put extra meat on this. Because what would happen is potentially, I don't want it to go to court and have somebody point to this policy and say, oh, because it's in this policy. So I would like to eliminate it and just leave it as, if you're talking about gender, leave it there. Talking about sex, leave it there, and not try to describe it extra by saying perceived or actual, or because in a nutshell, what this does is I see it happening in a real situation, which I did bring up in policy committees, where you would have a student say they do not appreciate what's happening in a private area, and you have another student claiming, well, you can't say this, now you're on the hot seat. You're not allowed to say that you feel a certain way, because now you are going to be in trouble for bullying or sexual harassment. And I don't agree with it, so I'm voting no. Thank you.
any other discussion?
I agree with Ashley 100%, and I think it should be in there, and Larry said it didn't have to be in there. Actually.
Well, any discussion? All in favor? Todd, need a hand or not a hand? So Todd's a yay, you're a yay?
Yep.
So, 6 yays, any opposed? And Wendy's not. Okay, motion carries. Moving on from there, we have correspondence. At this time, any questions or comments from the public?
Mr. Messeling, if I do want to thank Ms. Lewis for your service in the education assessment.
Once again, if you're being forced to be here by a teacher and you need a signature, any of the elected board members can sign your paperwork, not you.
Sorry, we're recording.
My name is Timothy Crumley. I'm the president. I run the meeting. That's a line on your piece of paper. And motion to adjourn by Mrs. Wistowski, seconded by Mrs. Stalter. Any discussion? All in favor?